Everybody has a different set of skills or experience, right? So this really should probably apply for everything, you know. For example, like, does a carpenter tell an electrician how to wire a house? Probably not. Each individual in their own set of skills in their own trade knows what they're talking about and knows what they're doing because they have the actual experience. Now, the only situation that something like this apparently doesn't apply is around homelessness, right? Now, many times have I spoke to people even close to me that for some reason are telling me that I'm wrong about certain perspectives or certain information or certain things when it comes to homelessness. But the craziest thing about that is that these people have never been through homelessness, but they disagree with me. This alone is the description of ignorance. If you go to a plumber and you say, you say, I disagree with you. How? Like, this is my profession. This is what I'm experienced in doing. Why would you disagree with me? That's ignorant. That's pure ignorance. You're not in a position to be able to disagree with me. You don't have the experience to stand on in order for you to think you know better than me. So this is a problem, not only in the real world, in the world in general, but, around homelessness specifically, because especially in Victoria, BC, there's all these groups of people and all these people out here that claim that they're in support of, homelessness and solutions to homelessness and poverty and so on and so forth. But then when somebody like me that spent 15 years in the streets tries to explain to them what's going on, they disagree with me. That's literally like I said, that's like having a professional come to you and tell you what the problem is, and you're like, yeah, well, I disagree with you. Well, the professional is a professional for a reason. They have the actual experience. They educated themselves through experience. And actually, let me define that, because people think that knowledge and wisdom and education comes from books and really the educational system. But I'll be honest with you. Real wisdom, real knowledge, and real education comes from real experience. Okay? There is no better way to understand or comprehend something or master something or identify with something other than actually going through it. And here's the thing with homelessness. 98% of people will never go through homelessness, at least not right now. We might be coming up to that. I think a lot of people are going to end up in situations that they never thought that they could end up in, from the same establishment and the same system that they supported, they stood up to, and they denied and rejected and disagreed with the people that were already injusticed by the system. Now they're going to feel the wrath of the system and see its corruption and know it to be true through their own experience, right? But until you go through that experience, you're never going to fathom, comprehend, or believe that this could be reality. But this is called denial, right? So people are in denial. You cannot fix a problem if people are in denial. You can't come up with a solution. All these people think that they can contribute and come up with solutions around homelessness, but they won't even accept what the homeless person is telling them. Therefore, they are a contributing factor to poverty and homelessness, because one of the first things that needs to happen is society and the system needs to accept that the way that they think of homelessness and poverty is inaccurate and untrue, incorrect. And it's based off of their opinion, and their opinion does not come from a real life experience. People will make up things and say, oh, well, I know someone that was homeless for a week, so I know about homelessness. No, listen, there are levels and depths to this, right? There's middle school, there's high school, there's college, there's university, okay? Let's just say I'm a university student of homelessness because I went through 15 years. Let's just say these people are kindergartners when it comes to that. They're not either less than kindergartners because they don't even have the experience at all. You know what I'm saying? So here's the problem. If you people are going to claim that you're here to support me, support my ideology, support poverty, support people that are going through homelessness, and support ideas and around solutions, the first thing you're going to have to go all the way back to the start. And you're going to have to get real with yourself. And you're going to have to start accepting that you're wrong. Once you can accept that you're wrong, then you can grow. Then you can learn. If somebody already thinks that they know and they haven't actually went through the experience, they can't learn. Therefore, they stand in the way of the solution. Okay? So, the biggest problem in any situation really is people rejecting the truth, denying the people that hold the truth through real life experience, and they don't want to hear it, they don't want to believe in it. They live in a fake world in their heads, the way they would like to look at life and poverty and homelessness through a different perspective that is inaccurate and untrue. Looking at life in a colorful, colorful perspective in an optimistic way does not mean that your perspective is correct. It means that you're living in ignorance and bliss away from the truth. That's what it means. Which puts you in a situation where you're becoming a contributing factor to the problem. So not only are you ignorant, but you are the cause of the problem. Because the first step, you don't just jump 3 steps. You don't just go from a 0 to 100. You don't just, go like from here to there without taking the steps. You know what I'm saying? So if you think you're going to skip steps, you're going to stumble and fall on your face. And then you're going to have to learn the lesson the hard way. Or you can stand back up and choose to live in ignorance and bliss and continue to stumble and think that you're right. And that the people that really have the real experience are wrong. So, again, does the electrician tell the carpenter how to build a house? No. Does the carpenter tell an electrician how to wire a house? No, because they each have their own set of skills. For some reason, people are full of pride and ignorance in a way that the carpenter thinks because he's been able to see things from a higher perspective on top of the house while he's building the house, that he can look down and say, yeah, I can see, I know what I'm talking about, to the electrician. They think that they have a more broad, higher up perspective on something that they have no actual experience in. That's pride. That's ignorance. And it's really self-deception, if anything. You can go ahead and lie to yourself all you want, but you're not going to lie to me, and you're not going to trick me or fool me. I know what's going on, right? I just met with somebody that, found me through the work that I was doing, the advocacy work that I was doing when I was doing workshops, educating government officials on how I first became homeless, the what's causing homelessness, what needs to change, so on and so forth. And this individual that claims to support me, which has supported me in various ways, a lot, doesn't agree with my ideology, does not agree with what I'm telling them based on my lived experience, based on my personal knowledge from real life experience. And again, knowledge and wisdom and education do not come from books, okay? That's what most people think. And guess what? Most people are wrong. Take a look at the world we live in, okay? It comes from real life experience. If you want to challenge somebody or doubt someone or disagree with someone or reject someone or deny somebody or their ideology or what they're trying to give to you, for you to do that justly, you would first have to go through the experience yourself and experience it firsthand and come back with a report and say, I went and did it. I went and became homeless, and I did it for a significant amount of time to grasp the most understanding that I could out of it, because there is a time frame. It's not you just was homeless for a day or two or a week or a month and now you understand and now you can join the conversation and tell people that you think they're wrong. Okay? Again, that's like a middle school student telling a university student that they're wrong because they have now went to middle school. Okay? That's not how it works. That's not reality, okay? So it's frustrating, man, that we live in a world full of ignorant people that claim that they're here to support us, to support people in general, but they don't even believe in these people and what they're saying. What is is there not a word for that? Like, is that like oxymoronic or something, like an oxymoron? Like, I don't know, I'll have to Google that, but there is a word for that to describe an individual or a scenario like that. But again, there is a reason why. Listen, man, homelessness hasn't improved, not because the problem is too complex, not because there's not enough money and there's not enough resource to correct the problem. And it's not that the system or people don't know how to efficiently or effectively correct the problem or help improve the issue. It's that they are intentionally not taking the steps necessary in order to correct the problem. And they're doing it intentionally. Why? What would be the benefit of that? I don't understand. Well, the reason why you don't understand is because you don't understand business. You don't understand charities and how they work. You haven't been homeless to see both sides of the fence. And there is a blind area and a blind spot that you cannot view. So you can't put all the pieces together to the puzzle to identify what the picture really is and what's really happening. And that goes across the board in life in general with everything, okay? But again, people think they know what they're talking about and they think that they're in a position to disagree. Well, they're not. They're just ignorant. And, I'm supposed to be sensitive to people's feelings, but compromise my integrity at the same time and also oppress the truth to fit into society or keep friends or keep networks open or keep myself available for opportunities to benefit from this entire pyramid scheme itself. And I'm not willing to do that because then I would be contributing to the problem like everybody else is that is collecting a paycheck in a field that is related to homelessness, but causing absolutely no effect or impact in any progressive or positive way, even though they think they are. They think they really are. Well, if you really were, okay, then you would be able to see it. And what I see is there's a bunch of tents over there. There's a blue tent, there's an orange tent, and there's another blue tent. Okay? You can visibly look outside and find out if, the $500 million a year that gets generated around homelessness in Victoria, BC is actually impacting and improving and changing things when it comes to the actual individuals that are going through homelessness. And it's not. They've been saying, oh yeah, we're doing this, we're making all this progress, and we're blah, blah, blah. They've been saying that for 20 years. And guess what? it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. So obviously you guys are not doing what you're claiming that you're doing, and you've put yourself into a state of delusion thinking that you are creating some type of progression. And even if you are doing something positive and progressive and finding some type of measure of progression, that progression is in a different atmosphere, and it is not affecting that guy in that tent right there individually, specifically. What it's doing is it's creating more programs. This is what these people are doing. They're creating more programs to create more employment opportunities for themselves. They are generating and fundraising millions of dollars to keep themselves employed, to build wealth for them and their family and their bloodline and their friends. But not one of these homeless people out here made it from a tent to a place to employed at these same places, in these same programs, in these same agencies and organizations that claim to be there to relieve poverty and, end homelessness. And again, how many times do I got to say it? The reason why they would do this is because they've created a field, an employment field, right? And if they solve the problem, there is no need for a solution. If they solve the problem, well, I guess you don't need you don't need a salary anymore, right? You don't need to generate $500 million around homelessness anymore, because homelessness has been corrected, at least in this city. The statistics say that there's 1,500 homeless people in Victoria, BC. Kind of weird that every year when I looked at those statistics, it said the same thing. 1,500, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. But you're making all this progression, and there's been $500 million a year generated specifically for homelessness. But homelessness has not improved. Now, there's multiple things that somebody could say in defense of this, right? Which may be a contributing factor, but is not the primary contributing factor. Like people moving to the island, homeless populations being shifted from Vancouver to out here. When I was homeless for 7 years out here in Victoria, BC, I was so deprived of my basic needs. I could not get my basic needs, that I felt that I had to leave and go somewhere else because I was going to die in Victoria, BC because of a lack of resource for 7 years, not just for a year, not just for a month, 7 years. And you think, well, how did you survive then? Exactly. I have no fucking idea. But it was hell. It was the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm a sober homeless person that should be able to just get myself out of these circumstances. And every single place and organization and charity and resource that I was directed to, directly or indirectly, burdened my ability to do what I needed to do to get out of homelessness. That changed my entire life. That changed my entire perspective on the system, on society, on everything. Because I thought, why would anybody do this? Why would people do this? Money. Jobs. Funding. Finances. Revenue. Donations. Okay? Money fuels the world. It's the main motivator for every human being in this day and age. And you can't live without it. So these people have found a way to earn, generate money and wealth, a lot of money, around a social topic, and then create a system that actually keeps people oppressed, keeps people homeless, keeps them with less than the bare minimum, and generates astronomical amounts of revenue per year in the name of that social cause. so that way they can keep their $200,000 per year salary. They can keep their job year after year after year after year, decade after decade, and they can continue to develop and generate wealth instead of working hard for it. And some of these people that work at these places that are getting paid $160,000, $200,000 a year is getting paid more than a doctor to work for a charity or a nonprofit in relief of poverty, and they're not even doing anything. They're not even doing anything. There's tents over there right now, bro. And they said that they were going to fix this when COVID happened. They lied through their teeth. I was out there in the streets. I couldn't have a shower. I had nowhere to shower. There was one place and one house that had clean showers. And there was a small window that you could go there and have a shower. And when you're waking up every day in a tent and you're tired and you're defeated and you got to pack your tent every single day and put it on your backpack along with your backpack, and you got 100 pounds on your back every single day, and you got to walk 40 minutes across the city to go have a shower and then walk 40 minutes to get back. By the time you get back, you're soaked in sweat. You need another shower anyways. Defeats the purpose. You are defeated physically, mentally, and spiritually. You give up. You give up on your hygiene. You give up on trying to get a job because you're too tired all the time. The food that they give you is expired, stuff that's thrown out. And this individual that I spoke to tried to, they've never eaten this food. They have never eaten this food, and they're trying to tell me the food is good. Listen, you eat fucking food bank food for 10, 15 years. You eat expired food that's supposed to be thrown out that by the Food and Safety Health Act is not safe for consumption or is not legally able to be sold after a specific time. I'm not saying the food is bad, like rotten. It's still edible. It's not bad. But it is starting to change chemically. It's starting to change its original structure. That's what expiry is. It's starting to expire. It's starting to ferment. It's starting to change a little bit. And that is not good for your health, your digestive health, the digestive bacterial in your stomach. Bacterial grows on this food and you eat it. And this is why we eat fresh food intentionally, right? But of course, if you're homeless and that's all you have, and if without it, you would starve to death, of course, you're going to eat it. And over a period of time, it's going to make you sick. But people don't know because they think they know because they're seeing the operation of these people that are coming together as a collective to get all this food built up that doesn't get thrown out, or instead of it getting thrown out, they deliver it to these shelters for people to eat, which is great. It is an idea of the public and good people that want to help and contribute to homelessness. Little do they know that these charities and organizations are actually capitalizing off of that. Let me explain. So, our place, for example, they'll have this, expired food that a group of good people came together to go out of their way and don't even probably get paid to bring in all this food to help the homeless. Those are good people, right? But the charity looks at this as a beautiful way to increase their profit margin because they can cut costs. They have budgets, right? They get grants, they get money, they get donations. Our place made $15 million in 2021, okay? And imagine, let's just say for the year, how much, I couldn't determine. I would have to sit down with these people, and they won't let you sit down with them and pick them apart financially because then you will find out things that are disturbing. And they will never allow you to be put in a position to do that to them. And they won't even disclose their salaries with you. BC Housing was just caught for fraud, okay? And BC Housing is affiliated with the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army, apparently, the staff told me that all the money that they make, which is over $88,000 per month, off of charging the homeless people $600 a month, apparently all that money goes to BC Housing. Weird. Okay, who owns BC Housing? The BC government. or a faction of the British Columbia government, which is also affiliated with the whole, has been called out for fraud. BC Housing has been hiding receipts. Let's just put it that way, right? And this is what all these charities in Victoria do. They're all guilty of it, okay? It is a culture here. This is what they do. This is their thing, how they have obtained wealth off of poverty. And so anyway, so for the food, so now out of that 15 million, let's say it costs 5 million for the year to keep for the food, to provide the food for the homeless, right? That's a lot of money. But that whole 5 million, forget about it. We don't have to use that 5 million towards the food now, because look, the community has come together, collected all of the food that was going to get thrown out because it's right on the borderline of being expired. By the time it gets served to you, then it is expired at that point, right? And only you would know if you were homeless eating at these places. You would never fucking know unless you actually ate the food for a prolonged period of time to get the effects of what is wrong with the food, okay? So that $5 million is a profit margin now per year, okay? Because they don't have to pay for that. And they don't have to receipt that. They don't have to say, hey, CRA, hey, charity data. We generated 15 million this year, and it cost us 15 million to keep it alive. But they don't have to mention that 5 million of that was deducted, or they cut costs by finding resources which caused them to not have to contribute that 5 million towards what it should have and would have went towards, which is food for a year. There is no limit. There is no shortage of money, resource, or manpower in this country of Canada. The only reason why homelessness exists and stays is not because people are drug addicts. The government and the system has created scarcity and poverty and marginalized intentionally a group of individuals that grew up as kids that have been misled or hurt or let down by their parents, or they didn't even have parents, and they were in the street at 14 years old and had nowhere to sleep. And then they went to the homeless shelter, to the shelter for youths, and got punched out and beat up and robbed for their shoes from the other goon kids that are at that place. Because that's what happened to me when I was 14 years old, when I ran away from an abusive home of drunks and drug addicts, okay? So then the system keeps you there. And then you accept defeat and you accept your circumstances as they are, because you tried so many times to get out of it and you couldn't understand why it was so hard to get out. And it was even designed in a way to actually intentionally keep you down. So it was just like, okay, well then fuck you. I'm out here. This is where I am. I'm out in the streets to survive. That changes who you are, and it changes how you operate and how you function. It does not make you want to contribute to society or be a part of it at all. Then you get these small groups of individuals that have been traumatized as children and let down by their own guardians that ended up in the streets. And that's the majority. Okay? Most people don't just run away from a good environment and then just want to go do drugs and drink when they've never been influenced to do that. There's influences that cause that. Either their parents or people that their parents let come around their kids, or the influences that they allowed their children to consume on YouTube or whatever it may be. Now, there is a small percentage of people or kids that did just run away because they wanted to party, and it led them down a path of destruction, which caused them to end up chewed up and messed up, rejected by their family, and abandoned in the street. That, if we were looking at a pie and we're looking at it in fractions, that would be the smallest fraction on the pie. Okay? How do I know? I spent 15 years homeless. I was homeless at 14 years old. These are things that I observed, that I witnessed, that I calculated, that I tried to understand. Because I've been on a 15-year educational experience, real life experience to understand and figure out what really is the cause, what really is the problem. Now, it does start with your parents. It does start with your family. It does start with the foundation. If there's no foundation to grow, you will not grow. You will end up in the streets. Then you will be inherited by the streets. You will be influenced by the streets. And you will be programmed by the streets and everything that comes along with that life. Criminal elements, abuse because of the pain, the emotional distress that you're in, the trauma, and everything else that is not allowing you to think clearly, and you're in so much pain that the only thing that you could even fathom is to try a drug to try to numb that pain, because everybody else is on drugs. So you might as well, right? And this is what happens to just unfortunate kids that came from abusive homes. And these are the same people, and they got now, after living a life like that, mental illness, disabilities, mental instability, sickness, disease, illness in every way, shape, and form. And then the society's like, get a job, you fucking bum. Imagine going through all that shit, and then people are driving by you saying, get a job, you fucking goof, you bum, right? And I'm a homeless fucking dude. Like, I have a fucking place. I was a sober homeless person, and it's not like, I held that sobriety. It almost killed me. I have health problems. I would have probably been better off doing drugs the whole time, because I had to deal with the stress for 15 years and deal with the raw pain of my trauma. It caused me to get sick. Now that I'm 31 years old, I'm having severe health problems. I might even have colon cancer right now. I'm being screened for that. This is what stress does. This is what extreme conditioning does to a human being, to their anatomy after 10, 15 years. It destroys you, okay? It makes you sick. It makes you weak and unable to provide for yourself. And then when you get rejected and all those things that I just told you happen to you, you don't want nothing to do with the system or society. For good reason, okay? But everybody that hasn't been homeless won't know what I'm saying to be true. In fact, they're disagreeing with me right now. And they're saying that I'm stupid. And they're saying that I'm wrong. So these people are the issue. They're the problem. They are the roadblock. They are the ones contributing to the issue. That is the first step that needs to get corrected for the second step to take place. And if that doesn't happen, then the second step can't happen, which means the prosperity can't happen. The change in effect and impact can't happen in a detrimental, effective, impactful, meaningful, purposeful way. As much as these little fools out here in Victoria that think that I'm wrong and I don't know what I'm talking about, and that they're right and they have a higher, more broader perspective than me, even though they've never been homeless, never ate at any of these shelters, they disagree with me because they've seen things from the business aspect, in the business perspective of things, and the community side of things. They see a community of people that are coming together and going out of their way and not even getting paid to help the homeless. And they wouldn't be wrong. But what they don't know is that these charities, these shelters, and the staff inside of them are being abusive to the homeless, and they are intentionally giving less than the bare minimum out of that entire resource. Out of all the resources, all the efforts of the community, all their donations, they're sucking it all up and pocketing it. And here you go. Here's your little crumb. Here's your little cracker, homeless person. Here's your pair of socks. When they could completely wipe out homelessness, fix it, create the programs and employment programs that are specifically designed for people that are going through homelessness and poverty, and build a pathway out of it step by step for them, so that way they can take the steps necessary to get out of homelessness. Because it's unrealistic to say, just get a job. That is not real. That's like saying, just grow wings and fucking fly away. Easy as that, motherfucker. You know what I mean? That's how fucking stupid and ignorant people are, because they haven't been through it themselves. There are so many complexities involved that you can't see, that limit and burden and stop somebody's ability from being able to just get a fucking job. I thought when I first became homeless that I'm just going to get a fucking job and get a place and I'm fucking good. I'll be out of here in 2 weeks. It turned into a fucking nightmare that lasted 7 years, and I never used drugs. So for all you fucking clowns out there that say homeless people are homeless because they just want to do drugs and they're fucking drug addicts and alcoholics. Well, guess what? I don't drink and I don't fucking use drugs, stupid. So now what? What's the fucking equation now, dummy? What's the answer now? What's your defense now, you fucking idiot? Right. Okay. Perfect. You need this. You need to feel like a fucking idiot. You need to be called a fucking clown because you are. And you need to let it hurt you and fuck you up because that's what it's going to take to make you fucking wake the fuck up and stop being a piece of fucking shit, goof, and preying on fucking people that are weaker than you, that have been through fucking way more than you could ever fucking comprehend. It would have folded you 10 years ago. You would have fucking died. You would have flopped. You think you're tough. You think you're strong. And, oh, I'm independent and I work and I fucking pay my bill. You're a fucking bitch. Come be in the street for fucking 10 years. I'll turn you inside out, you fucking pussy hole. You won't live. You won't survive. You don't have what it fucking takes. Because the only thing that allows you to have what it takes to survive that is fucking going through it since you were 14, because you have no fucking choice but to survive. And you've been ripped off by your fucking parents, by your fam, by every fucking support system that should have been there and claims to be there, and all the resources that claim to be there that are not there. They're all fucking fronts. Once you go there, you can't get no help. How would you ever discover this? Go be homeless for a fucking year. 2, 3, 4, 5. Do that, and you will come back and apologize to me, and it'll change your fucking life. But guess what? It's almost impossible for somebody to put themselves through poverty or homelessness intentionally when they have the resource or they have the skill set or the work experience or the ability or the health or the strength and the mental wellness and stability to not have to go through that, because they didn't experience what we experience. It's not possible. They're not just going to go and become fucking homeless when they got money in the bank or they have a skill where they could get a job and they got a trade or they got... And these fucking idiots think, oh, put me in homelessness, I'll get out. Yeah, because you've never been through what we've been through, you fucking pussy hole. People like you get beat the fuck up in the streets. You get slapped up, beat up, fucking degraded, belittled, and fucking you run off, pussy. You know what I mean? That's what happens to people like that, because they think that they're tough and they think that they can fucking, do whatever, and they talk shit and they don't fucking never lived it. That's what happens to people that in the street world, in the fucking criminal elements, and in the fucking poverty fucking, field, in the poverty world. That's what happens to people like that. They get hurt. And the law ain't going to protect you. Society ain't going to protect you. And the system ain't going to protect you. You're going to get beat up. You're going to have nowhere to run. And then the same people that beat you up are going to the same fucking places to eat and seek resources that really aren't fucking there. You know what I mean? So now you starve to death because you're scared for your fucking life to even go to these places, because you're going to get beat up and stomped out and fucking robbed for your shoes right off your feet. And until you become a savage, until you become a fucking demon, a violent fucking person, and you start fighting, stabbing, shooting, and fucking killing, then you go to jail. Now this is the cycle, and this is what the system does. It rinses you the fuck out, and it sends you right to a fucking jail cell. It forces you into a state of survival, state of scarcity, limits you intentionally from all fucking necessary resource, and does not create an actual straight pathway out of homelessness intentionally so they can keep their jobs, keep their fucking wealth, and do it year after year after year. Meanwhile, it's mass genocide of the homeless, and people are fucking dying left, right, and center. That's what's happening. That's really what's happening. So if you disagree with me and you doubt me and you reject me and what I'm saying, is because you're fucking ignorant and you don't have the real life experience, and you never will. Accept it. Shut the fuck up. Don't tell us anything. Stay in your side of the world. We'll stay on our side of the world. But don't fucking get in our way, and don't try to burden our ability from being able to survive. Like the city of Victoria, throwing out my fucking tent. I left the shelter because it was an unhealthy environment. I don't use drugs. Don't drink. Okay? All I wanted to do was get the fuck out of homelessness, and I didn't want to hang out with people. I didn't want to talk to nobody. All I wanted to do was be able to sleep, be at peace without thinking someone's going to steal my shit, not having to fight people, not having to put myself in a situation where I might go to jail for fighting because someone stole my shit or is trying to punk me or whatever, right? And that's what happens at shelters. Keeps you stuck in a cycle of homelessness, poverty, and jail. All by design. All because these fucking goofs at the top are hogging all the resources, misusing all the fucking revenue, and intentionally doing it on purpose so that way they can keep the revenue. Because you know what? This problem could be fixed. And that 1,500 people that are homeless would go down to about 100. Because there's always going to be a small percentage of people that can't function regardless. And that's okay. They should be allowed. They should be allowed to live outside in a fucking tent if they want to. They should be allowed to live in a fucking park if they want to. You know? Without the city throwing their tent out in the fucking garbage with all their clothes in it, and all the shelters are full. I'll tell you, like I said, one winter in December, I was fucking homeless, and I would rather be outside in a tent than be in that fucking shelter on fucking bunk beds with 30 men crammed into a fucking room like a bunch of cows in a fucking farm, with bed bugs and people that are fucking tweaking all night and won't sleep and fucking keep walking back and forth, and people that are talking to themselves in the corner. Buddy, I don't got time for that. I can't fucking survive in an environment like that. I can't go to sleep. I can't work. I can't function. It deteriorates you mentally, physically, and spiritually. And then you say, fuck this. I would rather get a tent. Now I see why people are doing the tent shit. Now I get it. Holy fuck. This is nuts. And this is all the shelters. All of them. This was the best option, the one I was talking about. It gets worse. The other ones are fucking way worse. Like the needles all over the place. Dudes smoking meth and heroin in the fucking bathroom. People overdosing and dying in front of you. It's a fucking shit show. And again, I made a video on how the government created this drug culture intentionally because they are also profiting from it. Okay? And so is Big Pharma. And all your tax dollars that you think are going to welfare checks and disability checks are all going right back into the Salvation Army. And then the other half goes to the pharmaceutical industry. And then a small percentage goes to street drugs that now the government is going to legalize and sell themselves. Because, first of all, right now, they're in with the organized gangsters collecting a fucking percentage of the drug trade, and they're allowing it to flow freely on purpose so that way they can keep that stream of income. You don't fucking understand it because you never sold drugs, you never been in the streets, you don't understand criminal elements, you don't understand the mentality, you don't understand how the fucking business of criminal elements operates, so you can't identify it. And you think that's fucking absurd. Well, take a look at all other places in the country. Mexico. The government, even in Canada, RCMP, have been caught human trafficking, drug trafficking from fucking Mexico to the States to Canada. This is not a conspiracy. It ain't some fucking theory or opinion, okay? It is a real thing. The government is not your fucking friend, okay? The governments are the biggest demon, devil, fucking entities that exist, okay? Now, the idea of a government, the idea of police to protect and serve, the idea of taxation to build an empire, were good ideas. They became abused by the same powers that claim to be there to create them to help us, okay? Just like anything else. When people get in a position of power, they are in a position to take advantage. Power corrupts. That's what it does. You start to abuse power when you have too much of it, and you haven't been humbled by homelessness and poverty. You know, that's what happens. So anyways, yeah, people need to stop trying to tell me that I'm wrong when they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And you know what? You want to go ahead and be ignorant. You want to live in ignorance and bliss. Go fucking ahead. But you're just another contributing factor, man. That's all you are. Cory Resilient, share this video. Peace.